I went to a local strip mall with a few friends and noticed a help wanted sign in an ice cream parlor window. I walked inside and met a nice lady named Tina. She was a short, thin, older lady with very blonde hair. I asked her for an application, and she handed it to me with a huge smile on her face. "We're looking for a new store manager right now," Tina said excitedly. I looked at the application and smiled back. "Thanks, Tina. I'll fill this out for you right now," I said. She handed me a pen, and I sat down in the nearest booth. I skimmed through the application and started to fill it out. The application itself seemed completely normal, except for one question. The last question on the application said, "Do you mind working alone?" I answered no and walked back up to Tina. "Here you go, all filled out," I slows, smiling. She grabbed the application and looked it over. She put it into a file folder and looked at me with another eerie grin. She reached out her hand to shake mine and said, "Young man, you're hired," she exclaimed happily. "You don't need to do a background check or anything?" I asked. "Nah, I trust you, darling," she said, still smiling. Something about her seemed off. She was super nice, but it was like she was forcing her smile. I couldn't tell if she was happy I was going to start working, or if she was about to have some sort of mental fit. I reached out and shook her hand firmly. She squeezed my hand and shook it vigorously. "Thank you so much," she said. "No, Tina, thank you for giving me a chance to," I started. Just before I could finish, a man walked in from the back. Tina turned around to welcome him. He was dressed in a suit and was probably in his 60s. He was tall and quite pale, almost like a zombie. I waited there, staring at them from the counter. Tina pointed over at me, and the man looked my way and smiled. He walked over to me and introduced himself. "Hello, Sammy. My name is Mr. Andes. Very nice to meet you. I'm your new boss," he said in a low, deep voice. He reached out with a wrinkly, pale hand. His veins and tendons were visible through the top of his skin. His fingernails were long, sharp, and dark. The man's eyes were almost as grey as his short hair. When I grabbed his hand, it was cold to the touch. A wave of anxiety shot through my body like I'd just been shocked. "Tina tells me you're our new hire. She just put up the flyer, so you must be quite the lucky person," he said through his creepy smile. If I didn't know who this man was, and had just seen him on the street, you couldn't convince me he wasn't a vampire, or something that drank human blood. I had no choice, though. My 18th birthday was months away, and I needed a way to make money fast. So, I took a deep breath, pushed through the anxiety, and explained to Mr. Andes how happy I was to be their new employee. "Can you start tomorrow night?" he asked. "Absolutely," I said with slight hesitation. He handed me a business card and asked if I'd like a free cone, which I declined since I had just eaten dinner. "I insist you try the product you'll be selling, Sammy boy," he said, handing me a perfectly curled cone of chocolate ice cream with white chocolate flakes on top. I wasn't sure what was weirder, the fact that I hadn't seen him even look away from me to make the cone, or the fact that he was handing me my favorite ice cream with my favorite toppings. I took the cone from him in bewilderment. I decided not to question it, even though alarms were going off in my head. I took a chance. I licked the cone, and immediately the anxiety disappeared. It was like nostalgia in a cone. I was 10 again. "Wow, Mr. Andes, this ice cream is honestly some of the best I've ever had," I said between licks. "Many people come through this shop and tell me the same thing," he said. That feeling you have right now, young man, that's love and care. That recipe has been in my family for generations, he added proudly. Well, Mr. Andes, I'm glad I'll be able to represent your business, I said. I walked outside and met my friends. I told them I got the job, and they immediately began to praise me. That is, until we looked back at the store and noticed Mr. Andes smiling from ear to ear, with that same creepy grin staring directly at us. I waved to him, and he waved back before walking away from the register. My friends both laughed and said, "Good luck with that." I went home and told my aunt about the job. "That's awesome, Sam. I bet your mom and dad would be so proud of you right now," Aunt Nellie said as she kissed the top of my head. My parents died when I was really young, so I never really got the chance to know them. That doesn't make it any less hard, but I think I was put into good hands with Aunt Nellie. It's just me and her, and I wouldn't have it any other way. "So you just walked in, filled out an application, and they gave you the job on the spot?" she asked. "Pretty much," I replied. "The man who owns the store is a little creepy, but I think he's just older." "Well, at least you'll be making some money now. Maybe get that car you've been wanting so bad, huh?" she said. I laughed and agreed. I had my eye on an old Nissan 300 ZX twin turbo that's been sitting in the lot across the street from my school. I look at it every day on my way to and from school. Today was my last day, so I fear I won't be seeing it as much. But she's always in the back of my mind. After dinner, my aunt retreated to her art den, and I went upstairs to shower and get ready for my big day tomorrow. Afterward, I looked at the business card Mr. Andes gave me. Andes Ice Cream, in big, bold letters. I decided to look up the shop and check reviews. The store had a near-perfect 5-star rating, with everyone praising Tina and Mr. Andes. This put my mind at ease about his oddness today. The next day, I had graduation practice. After that, I went home and got ready for work. I dressed in khaki pants and a black collared shirt. I tucked in my shirt and styled my hair so I looked like a choir boy. My aunt offered me a ride on my first day so I didn't have to take the bus. "Good luck, honey. I love you, and I'm proud of you," she said lovingly. "Thanks, Aunt Nellie. I love you too, and I know you are," I said as I gave her a tight hug. I turned around and walked to the doors. That wave of anxiety was back, not because of Mr. Andes, but because it was day one. Right when I walked in, Tina greeted me with that same bright smile. "Hey there, kiddo. You ready for your first day?" she asked. Deep down, I wasn't sure if I was ready or not. I'd never been anything besides a stock boy at the local grocery store, so the title manager just made me feel icky. "Yeah, I'm super ready," I said. "Okay, perfect," she replied. "Come back here and I'll give you a rundown of what you need to do." Coming behind the counter felt odd, like I shouldn't be back there. Just a quick, childish thought that made me chuckle to myself. She explained the POS system and the prep I'd need to go through every night before my shift started. I would be working the 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. shift for the time being. That actually made me happy, since I didn't have much to do during the day anyway. Nights were perfect. After about 25 minutes of training and some hands-on customer practice, I let Tina know that I was comfortable, and I thanked her for her help. "Don't mention it, Sammy. The first night is always the hardest night," she said, looking away. "Why is that, Tina?" I asked. Before she could answer, a customer came in, and I got to work. I helped the customer and cleaned my station. When I looked back, Tina was gone. I assumed she meant the first night was the hardest just because it was new. But honestly, This felt like it was going to be easy money. The ice cream parlor seemed popular. I had only been working for a couple of hours, and my tip jar was already half full. During a pause in customers, I filled the machines with fresh product and restocked the topping station. I heard the back door of the shop close, so I walked back, assuming Mr. Andes had arrived. On the desk in the back was a single piece of paper. On it were 5 different rules. I reached for the paper just as the phone rang. The sudden sound scared the hell out of me, but I picked it up. "Thanks for calling Andy's Ice Cream. How can I help you?" I said in my most polite voice. "Hello, Sammy. It's Mr. Andes," he said. "I didn't want to bother you while you're working, so I just decided to drop off the rule set." "Thanks, Mr. Andes. I started, but he cut me off, his voice urgent. "Sammy, the rules I left you must be followed no matter what," he said. "Okay, that's no problem, Mr. Andes," I replied. "Sammy, listen to me carefully. You will experience things tonight that may change your outlook on life," he said calmly. "I will pay you handsomely if you decide to stay after tonight." "Mr. Andes, what do you mean things will happen to me that change my outlook?" I asked fearfully. "Read the rules, Sammy, and make sure you follow them," he said before hanging up the phone. I hung up and looked around the shop. I couldn't shake the feeling that I shouldn't have accepted the job. I grabbed the paper and began to read. These were no ordinary rules, that was for sure. Rule 1. Do not leave the store for any reason during your shift. Rule 2. At 12 a.m., make sure the strawberry ice cream is fully stocked for Kathy. Rule 3. Every hour on the hour, go to the freezer, knock on the door 3 times, and walk back to the front. Rule 4. All customers are welcome. Rule 5. Do not make eye contact with the man in black. At some point, he will enter the store and ask you some questions. You must answer while looking at the floor. He will leave, and then you can look up again. Follow the rules and everything should be fine. I hope you decide to stay with us, and may you have a great first day. Mr. Andes. "What the hell am I reading right now?" I said out loud. These rules seemed comical, like some kind of prank, but fear flooded my body as I reread the last one. Was I seriously about to stay here and follow these rules? I looked up at the clock. It was 10:58 p.m. I walked into the back and waited for the clock to strike 11. As silly as the rules sounded, I was more afraid of what might happen if I didn't follow them. At 11 p.m. on the dot, I walked over to the freezer and knocked 3 times. Then I returned to the front and waited for something, anything to knock back. But there was nothing. I looked up and noticed a man and his son walking into the parlor. A little late for a weekday, I thought to myself, but I'm not one to judge. "Hello, sir. Welcome to Andy's Ice Cream. How can I make your night special?" I asked enthusiastically. "I'd like to get a couple of vanilla ice cream cones for my son and me," he said in a soft, low voice. The little boy and the man both looked sad. They also looked a little roughed up. "Come right up, sir," I said. I turned around to make the cones and then spun back to ask if they wanted toppings, but they were gone. They had left without making a single sound. Creepy, but maybe they just had a change of heart and decided to leave. I threw the cones away and went back to the counter. I sat down and watched the TV hanging in the dining area. Some program about underwater life and the effects of pollution played in the background. Things had slowed down, so I filled the time with cleaning and restocking. When the clock neared midnight, I went to the freezer knocked, and walked back up front. I filled the strawberry ice cream just like the rules said. When I looked back, a woman in a white gown was waiting for me at the register. Her face was hidden under long, dark, black hair. "Hello, ma'am. Welcome to—" I began. "I've never seen you here before. Who are you?" she interrupted. "My name is Samuel, ma'am. I was just hired yesterday," I said. The woman's hair shifted, and her face startled me. It was pale and bluish, with jagged, rotted teeth. Her eyes were jet black, and I could almost feel the evilness coming from her. "Get my strawberry ice cream, little boy, or tonight will be your last," she said, smiling with her head tilted. I backed up toward the ice cream machines, never turning my back on her. This has to be Kathy, I thought. I made her a cone of strawberry ice cream and handed it to her. The woman grabbed my wrist with her left hand and pulled me close. Her breath smelled of death, and her touch was freezing. She grabbed the cone with her right hand and, "Thank you," into my ear. Then she let go. I dropped to the floor, shaking, just like the little boy and his father. She disappeared without a sound. I sat on the ground for what felt like forever. The shop was dead quiet for the next couple of hours. I kept following the rules, knocking on the freezer when I was supposed to, and continued on with my shift. By 3:30 a.m., I was ready to go home. Suddenly the lights began to flicker, and the crickets I'd been hearing outside went silent. A man appeared, walking past the glass. He was dressed head to toe in black. This has to be the man in black, I thought. I stood at the counter and lowered my eyes, waiting. The man stood completely still in front of me, silent. A low growl rumbled from his chest. I stared at the floor as a noise like cracking bones came from his mouth. Panic rose inside me. I felt like he was hovering over me. "A new face. How lovely," the man said in a dark, demonic voice. "Do you value your life and the life of your Aunt Nellie?" My eyes widened in terror. He knew my aunt's name and mine without me saying a word. My chest tightened. "Yes, I value both of our lives," I said through tears. "Would you give your life for hers?" he asked. "Yes, I would," I answered. The man went silent. I felt him back away from the counter. The front door opened, then shut. I looked through my peripheral vision and saw him floating past the windows before vanishing out of sight. I wiped the tears from my face and watched in horror. I can't do this another night. What have I gotten this into? I glanced at the clock. To my horror, it read 4:01. I turned toward the back. The freezer door was wide open. Heart pounding, I sprinted to it, slammed it shut, and knocked 3 times. This time, something knocked back harder than I had. I nearly jumped out of my skin and ran to the phone, dialing Mr. Andy's with trembling hands. I told him everything. "Relax," he said. "Go grab the book next to the printer and recite the first sentence on the first page." I rushed to the desk, grabbed the book, and read aloud. "Adore me, Bester. Adore me, Bester." The knocking stopped instantly. The store went calm again, as if nothing had happened. I put the book back and walked shakily to the front. There was no way I could do this again. And yet, part of me wanted to see what else was hiding behind these rules. My shift was nearly over when a woman walked in. "Hey, "You must be Samuel. I'm Betty, the morning shift worker," she said. I shook her hand, relieved. "Betty, can I ask you something?" I said. "Sure, what's up?" "Rules?" she asked. "Yeah, like knocking on the freezer every hour or not looking at the man in black." Betty tilted her head. "Samuel, are you okay? You seem anxious. You're sweating quite a bit." 5 a.m. finally arrived. Just for the sake of it, I knocked on the freezer before leaving. Right before I walked out, the phone rang. It was Mr. Andy's. "I'm happy you made it through the night," he said. "If you decide to stay, I'll pay you $500 a night." I froze. 500 a night. I thought about it, then forced the words out. "I'll be back." I hung up the phone. My body was still trembling, but my mind was racing. I wasn't sure what any of this really was, but one thing was certain. Tomorrow night, I was going to find out. Thanks for sipping tonight's tale with Haunted Brew. Don't forget to subscribe, and sleep tight if you still can.